Welcome to SoulThrive, where we explore spirituality through healing trauma, shadow work, and applying the laws of the universe in order to master ourselves without the fear of the unknown. Hi guys, welcome to another episode on the SoulThrive Podcast. This is Christina.
And Ivana.
And I'm so excited. Ivana is going to introduce our next guest.
Yeah, today we're very excited to welcome Gellyahnah to the podcast. She is a soul contracts practitioner who helps people understand their life's purpose and break through patterns that might be holding them back. Her own journey of healing led her to this work, and now she's passionate about guiding others to clarity and through transformation. We can't wait to dive into this conversation. So stay tuned. Hi, Gellyahnah. Welcome to the SoulThrive Podcast. We're so happy to have you here today with us.
I'm so excited.
So much to talk about. So let's start with maybe, why do people come to you? What do they come to you for? How do you help people?
They come to me because they're interested in knowing what their purpose is in this lifetime, right? Because with the soul contract work that I do, I specifically focus on what did your soul sign up for? So by decoding your birth name, I'm able to see the karma you brought into this lifetime, your unique talents, goals, and ultimately, what is the overarching purpose of this entire incarnation?
Just by the name is
Correct.
what we're saying. Oh my goodness. Like that's insane. Just by the name, which is so amazing. Like I think about that, like you are assigned your name. I do feel like the moment you're born, your name has an energy and a power to it. I've always thought that. I've always thought
unique.
Yeah, it's
You would hope.
you would hope. I mean, I know a lot
Where you're
of I
from.
know a lot of Christinas, although Ivana has a very unique name, I think, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's so cool.
Well, it's, and it's not just the first name, it's actually your full name. So it would be your first, middle, and last name if you have a middle name. And it's the combination of all of those sounds.
I was just going to say, it's got to be like a tone, a frequency, like a
Yes.
phonetic of some sort that also holds some form of an intention. Wow. I think like that's so interesting. I'm very intrigued. How did you kind of come up to like about with this work? Like, how did you figure this out that you could do this, that you could actually like figure this out? Was it like a calling, your own purpose? You did your own name? You figured, I mean, I have so many questions. I'm throwing a lot your way. I apologize. I just think I'm very excited.
I love the questions. I love this. So this is not my body of work. This is not something I came up with, but it is something that I studied. And the way that I came across it is that I was on my own spiritual journey. I was 38 when I discovered this work, and age is actually really important because 35 to 42, the ages of 35 to 42 is when all of us are in our spiritual awakening or spiritual deepening cycle. And for me, kicked off at 35 with my divorce coming through, which is the case for a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of us. And so as I was on my healing journey, my spiritual journey, at the age of 38, I came across this work. Now, the age of 38 is significant because this is when most of us are going through a deconstruction period. We're meant to deconstruct the false reality that we've been living in and then rebuild on our deepest truth. So that's why I'm stressing that 38 is when this came to me, because this is literally when I was supposed to be, okay, you're done with whatever you've been doing. That's not your truth anymore. Maybe it was for a moment. And now you've got to step into something deeper. So in the short version, this is how I discovered it.
Oh my God. Wow. And what were you doing before all of this?
Oh gosh. So I launched my first company when I was 27, and it was a business networking company that was powered by software that was built around my personality. So I was basically the non-technical founder of a tech startup.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like
radically different.
Right. Well, I mean, now I'm sure you use a lot of that fundamentally for your work still, but ultimately it's just a completely different path. And I do find that when there's like big things that happen that impact us, you're like at a fork in the road. You have to make that decision, like your path and purpose kind of gets activated. And I think like, that's so cool that you like followed it and you listened. What made you listen to it? Like what made you trust it?
What made me trust knowing that it was time for me to step into something deeper?
Yeah.
Well, gosh, how do we unpack that? I mean, for me, I don't know what it's like for other people, but when you launch your first company at 27 and you're thrust into the spotlight and every single one of your weak spots is put under a microscope, you
Right.
very quickly learn to, I don't know, you learn a lot of things. And so for me, things got to a point where the moment I had an inclination about something, I knew that was the way to go. We call this intuition, and I think we all have it, but we don't trust it or we don't always use the muscle. I think what I'm saying is I've been forced to use the muscle for a long time before this came
Hmm.
along. So by the
Hmm.
time this came along, it wasn't even a question.
Mm.
Although it wasn't, it was still uncomfortable because my identity was so tied in the other company and it was very public. So meaning
Right.
like this wasn't like a little quiet thing. Like this would be a big deal, at least in my local community. So I had to work through, well, your company is not your identity. You are a completely different individual, you know?
Hmm.
And yeah, so there was a lot that I had to sort of go through internally. But when I woke up on my 40th birthday, 40 is another pivotal
I
age.
Huge.
was just gonna ask
I
you.
just
Yeah.
went through it myself.
Yeah.
40, my whole life fell apart. Like everything has fallen apart. And it's been one of my biggest years of grieving for sure. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of grief, like a lot of grief that's come to surface. So it's been
Mm,
very interesting to hear that 40 is one of those impactful
it is.
years.
Yeah, it's huge because what's happening is everything up until the age of 40 is research. You're literally researching life.
I felt that.
Yeah, and you're getting, we're all influenced by society and what our parents want, friends, blah, blah, blah. When you get to 40, 40 and above is when life truly begins. And this is when we're all meant to step into our deeper purpose. And so for me personally, when I literally on my birthday, the moment I opened up my eyes, every single one of my senses was going off, hearing, feeling, knowing, all of it. And the message was just undeniable. And it was, if you do not step into your soul's purpose, trauma is going to come. And
Hmm.
not because I was going to get punished for it, not like that, but trauma is oftentimes life's way of getting us back on track.
I
So if
agree.
your trauma happened at 40, and I don't know, we haven't talked yet, but I would say that probably should have happened at 38. So if it didn't, why didn't it? Or did you, not you, but sometimes we avoid things
Yes.
and so they're going to happen later,
Yeah.
right? So this is where at 40, I woke up with that message and I'm like, okay, I'm out of time. And I literally shifted, transitioned. I got on TikTok with this work, blew up
Hmm.
overnight pretty much. And
Yeah.
I put my company for sale and it was sold within 3 months. It was
Wow.
the
That's how you
smoothest
know.
That's how you
transition.
know.
That's
Yeah.
how you know. Smoothest transition of my life, and I didn't plan it at all.
Right. I feel like I've always had kind of like these cyclical patterns, like these big life themed experiences that have happened. Like I remember 27. I don't know if there's something like that. 27
Or
was,
isn't it every 7 years? Isn't that like
there
the
are, I
cycle?
think there's cycles with,
27 is our Saturn return.
yeah, okay. That makes sense. So I,
Yeah.
27, 32, 35, and then 40 for me, I felt like were very impactful so far. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more, but
I'm curious. So when you do this work with your clients, do you also use your intuition, or is there is a specific methodology where you look at their name and then sort of like decode it and tell them, what their life's purpose is, what their challenges are? Is there a bit of like intuition that also comes into play?
Yeah, a wonderful question. So if you purchase one of my like the digital soul contract reading, you essentially get your unique chart and access to pre-recorded videos where I go through every single frequency in immense detail.
wow.
So if you go through that particular cycle or that particular product, you will get an enormous amount of information on everything within your chart. And many people will have transformative life changing moments just from that, right? If you meet with me one on one, I tend to look at your chart and I definitely do not go into the details. Otherwise, we'd be here for, hours doing the
Right,
reading.
right, right.
But I can look at the chart and this is where I use my intuition to put it together, based on what I'm hearing. Because sometimes I have to assess the client too. Where are they in their cycle,
Hmm.
right? Is this somebody in front of me, are they aware? How aware are they? Are they in their victim mentality? Or, so
Ooh,
then
yes, you
reading,
used the right word.
Mhm.
yeah, not my favorite type of client, the victim mentality client, but
Hmm.
hey, I mean, I'm glad they're at least here looking for answers. So it's every reading becomes unique in that sense, right? And this is where my intuition does kick in. But again, then they're different because in that reading, you don't get all the details, right? Like if you come to me and there's a huge pain point in your life, I mean, we have a limited time, so I'll tend to focus on that because that's what you need solved in this moment.
Hmm.
But technically, the method itself could be done without my intuition, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Got it.
that's really cool. Like, I think that's just so cool.
So you're taking into consideration someone's name. What about when you say chart? It's not nothing to do with like the birth chart. It's strictly their name that you're looking at.
Correct. Yeah, we call it a soul contract chart. It's not a birth chart. This has
Got
nothing
it.
to do with your
Nothing with
astrology or time of
Right.
birth. It's nothing like
Can
that.
you explain a little bit about like the soul contract? Give us a little bit of a definition of what that looks like, feels like. I don't know, just so that we have a little bit more of a grasp of it. Because I think I know it. I mean, I teach it, but I love hearing different perspectives of it as well.
Of course. And just to clarify, do you mean the actual chart or do you mean the concept of a soul contract?
I think both.
Both. Okay.
It
All
would be
right.
nice to define both.
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start with the concept and then we can
Hmm.
talk about the chart itself. So, to me, the concept of a soul contract is this is a divine promise that you're making to your higher self, your guides, the creator, before you reincarnate into any given lifetime. So essentially, you're saying, okay, this is the set of experiences that I want to go through. This is where I'm going to go. Like, these are the parents. This is essentially what I'm going to try to accomplish and is this beautiful divine promise, right? So if we don't want to use the word soul contract, let's call it a divine promise.
Hmm.
And what I specifically focus on is the soul contract that you are creating for yourself in any given incarnation. Okay, so I'm not talking about the soul contracts that you then have with other souls that you're
Okay.
incarnating with. Now, I could technically look at your chart next to somebody else's chart. Like I could look at you and Ivana and see, ooh, what do they have an energetic connection between,
That would be nice.
right? Like that is something I can do, but it doesn't necessarily tell me what the bigger aspect of the soul contract. Now I might be able to use my intuition to determine that, but again, just to clarify, what I focus on is your own purpose. And so, Ivana, when he asked me, why do people come to you? They
Mhm.
come to me because they want validation. They come to me because they think they're lost. They come to me because they want answers.
Right.
hmm
Right. I love that you're a guide for people in that way. I think like this is such a gift in so many ways. I think that's beautiful.
I have an interesting question. It's because we're talking about names. What if you change your name,
Yeah.
or like how is that chart impacted? Say if you get married and change your name, or like I had to change slightly the spelling of my name
You did. Yes,
when I
that's
came
right.
to Canada because it's a Serbian last name, whatever. Otherwise, people would call me Music because it's Music, but there's an
Mm,
accent on the C, so it's like different. So I spell it Musich. So like I added a whole letter so that people can pronounce it properly. So all my business, like my LinkedIn, my business information is that. Does that have an impact? And maybe even the year that I decided to do that? Like I'm curious whether, there's any
yeah.
connections there.
Absolutely. So your soul contract never changes. Okay. Think of it as your birth name.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, birth date or birth time,
Right.
right? You can't just say, I don't want to be a Gemini anymore. I'm now going to
Right. I'm gonna go be a
right?
Virgo instead.
I mean, you could say that, but it doesn't energetically change anything.
Right,
Right,
right.
right.
So it's literally the same way with your name because it's your energetic signature. Now, when you change your name for any reason, whether you get married or, so I'm from the former Soviet Union, right? So I came here and my entire name had to be changed because that was in the Cyrillic alphabet. So
Right.
um, that now becomes an overlay, meaning the new name energy sits on top of your
Interesting.
original name, and now the energies are mixed. Okay. And
Mm.
this can be neutral, meaning it doesn't do anything. It can be positive, it could actually boost your energy, or it can be negative and create clashes in your own name.
Wow.
Interesting. Well, it's funny because on my birth chart, it's like my birth certificate, it's Christine with an E. And then Christina is Greek, right? Christina. But I was named after my grandmother. So like we did that traditional thing. Does that also play a role if you're named after like maybe a grandparent or something? Like, do you carry some of that energy as well, like as far as maybe like your soul's mission and purpose? I don't know, like it, because sometimes I know like traditionally they would name my sister was also named after my grandmother, my other grandmother. So we weren't named like it was picked for us, but then it was Christine. I guess my mom was trying to divide it a little differently, just not Christina, right? So does that play a role? I don't know.
Okay, you asked a lot of questions, so
I
let's
did. I'm
break them
sorry.
down. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So first off, you didn't give me the name Christine, you gave me Christina.
I
So
did.
are you
Yes.
so that's the you gave me the wrong name then, right? Because I need what's written on your birth certificate.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that because I go by Christina. Like that's how I
Right.
go by. I've never,
Christine? I
yeah,
can't
I
even. Sorry.
know. Yeah, it's
That's okay.
It's
weird.
No,
interesting.
that's
Yeah.
okay. So, what a great thing to discuss because this happens all the time. So, when people fill out my intake form, I
Mhm.
tell them go to your birth certificate and
Ah, okay.
double check it because I need your name as exactly as it was written because each letter makes a difference.
Wow.
Because each letter
Okay.
carries a different frequency, right?
That's true. Yep.
So the chart I have, then I'd have, again, if we want to reference it, I may have to, I'll have to change the spelling, but that's first point number one. Um, the other thing you asked me, oh gosh, you asked me a few
I
things.
asked it because we were named
Oh,
after our
if you're named after
grandparents.
somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, no, no, I'm sorry. Before I answer that, I need to answer one thing because we've now alluded to it twice. It is not your parents who choose the name.
Right.
It is the soul that chooses the name.
Okay.
So
Mm.
your parents are divinely inspired, right? And you, the soul chooses the parents. So you know the family you're coming into. You know, all right, well, if they're going to call me, Christine or Christina, it needs to match up with, the last name. And that, there's like a whole calculation that goes into it. When you're named after somebody in your family, this is a case by case basis because some souls keep coming into the same families, to help with generational healing and all
Hmm.
of that. And I
Hmm.
think some souls just pop in because they just need to be at that time and place. So this is really more of a case by case situation.
Got it. That's fascinating.
Wow. Are you seeing as people come to you lately for, understanding sort of what their purpose is and understanding their soul contract, are you seeing a lot of similarities or certain patterns emerge lately?
Yeah, well, I don't know about lately, but there's definitely patterns that I see with people. It's interesting because we're all patterns. I
Hmm.
mean, that's the reality of it is that we are all energetic patterns. And after doing this work for years now and looking at literally thousands of charts, we're all patterns. Like we all like to think we're unique, and we have a unique
Hmm.
mission.
Hmm.
But yes, patterns.
Yeah.
So are there specific, maybe even like archetypes that you're seeing when it comes to
Yeah.
different like purposes? I'm curious if you can speak a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, gosh, let's think of a good tangible example. So, um, I don't know. Maybe we can look at, well, Christina's chart is that not, I'm just trying to think. I want to give a good example. Off the top of my head, it's not always so,
I'm
easy,
so
but
curious to hear what Christina's.
yeah, let's look at Christina's, but let me
Yeah,
get
go
her
ahead.
Let's look
correct
at it.
name.
Yeah. This is fun.
Okay, I'm all for it. I love it.
But then
I'll
you're
tell
gonna
you
have to
her
get a new
archetype.
one for your
And then I'm going to have to
correct
get a new one,
name,
yes, for the correct Christine. Well,
Christine.
that's not my fault. Jenny put that there. So, and my mom's changed her name like three times. It's like Joanna, Joanna,
Jenny.
Jenny. Like, yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so all of those would be overlays, and each time she changes her name, she brings in new frequencies for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right. So with you, Christina,
Hmm.
okay, so your soul destiny is a 12-3. And this makes a lot more sense to me because I'll tell you, when I first pulled up your name
Hmm.
as Christine, the way it was sent to me, or I'm sorry, Christina, the way it was sent,
Yep.
I didn't see the 12.3 frequency, and I was looking for that. It's most people that have podcasts have this 12.3 frequency. This is the podcast frequency. And I'm like, oh, that's unique. And I'm like, and she doesn't have a middle name. I'm like, so where's this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment I just put in Christine, your 12.3 is in your soul destiny.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a really important spot for you.
Okay.
So if I'm looking at archetypes, when we're talking about the 12.3 frequency, these are the master communicators. So these are the podcasters, these are the authors, these are the people who are here to express their soul's wisdom in a big way.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
this
know
is not a
that.
small energy.
Yeah, yeah. I would say that's pretty accurate. I'm in the process of writing a book right now.
Okay, well, there you go. So see, Christine is actually the right name for you,
Yeah.
even though you don't go by it.
So crazy.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to contact you afterwards. Mine.
Yeah, of course. And your question, what you asked me about your name with the C and the CH. So it's interesting because your C in the Croatian language, it's got that little thing on top. So
It's
if
got
I
the
were to
accent,
read it,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
accent, like I knew that, like I would know that's a CH, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Meaning
Eastern Europe, people from Eastern Europe know how to pronounce it right away. Right.
correct. But what I mean by that is, remember, I'm not converting this into English. We're converting this into Hebrew because Hebrew is one of the sacred languages of the creator,
Wow. Yeah.
source energy. So in Hebrew, there's a lot more of variance. So you didn't, I mean, you changed the spelling, but not really. Because you kept the sound the same.
Phonetically sound. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, the vibration of it is still the same. The frequency of it is
exactly.
still the same. That makes
Yeah.
Okay,
sense.
that's good because I was always wondering, I'm like, am I adding this letter to the end of my last name because I'm trying to be someone else or I'm trying to fit in or because I want people to like pronounce my name properly or like take me more seriously? I don't know. I was just like, oh, should I just go back to like the original spelling? I don't know. But that's
Yeah, I almost feel like I have to kind of adapt more of the name Christine. Like interestingly enough, because I don't necessarily I've never really considered it as a I don't know, like my primary frequency. I just assume because I was named after my grandmother that it's just like the tradition of keeping Christina, I guess, that I kind of leaned in more that way.
yeah. I'm curious because, this is a podcast about spirituality. So we always want to kind of bring the conversation back to that. What does spirituality mean to you in your personal life? And what are some of the tools that you've used even on your journey to self-awareness and, really embodying your authentic self?
Oh, I love that question. I mean, to me, it's all about connection, right? Because we come here, we're asleep, we don't remember, and the goal is to wake up, remember who you are. And we have different tools to help us get there. But this is why we call it the awakening process. And it's about remembering who you really are and rebuilding that connection with source, with the creator. I mean, at this point in my life, I do pretty much every daily step is with a creator. Like I'm going to the gym. I'm like, all right, creator, we're going to the gym because it's, my body needs to be moved today. Last night I kept waking up and I was like, creator, what is happening? I need my sleep. Help me. You know what? Like for me, I'm in constant conversation with the creator. But it's not just conversation. I mean, I do energy work as well, and it's very intense type of modality of energy work. And this particular energy work has created miracles in my life. I mean, it has shifted a lot for me. So, for me, spirituality means being awake and being connected. But I think maybe even awake and connected is going to have different meanings to different people,
Oh,
depending
yes.
on which phase of
Yes.
that they're in.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask one of Christina's favorite questions because we use inner child quite a bit, even in our own sessions. And
That's kind of
she's
what
sitting
I
there
lead
teaching.
with. I do
Yeah.
teach a lot on the inner child.
How much of that work have you done, and do you also find that helped?
Absolutely. So I have a whole library of healing sessions, and the first one in there is on forgiveness because forgiveness is everything. The second was inner child. because we all have inner child, and I have many in there. Okay. So I'm just telling you,
Yes.
like the first two you need to go through. First, you need to forgive those that hurt your inner child. Then,
Hmm.
I mean, that's a whole other conversation in itself. What does forgiveness mean?
Hmm.
But the inner child, we all have inner child trauma, and I had a lot of it, a lot. So
Hmm.
I usually, when I'm doing readings for people, I'm pointing it out and I'm saying, like, the little you is making decisions from a hurt place, but
Yes.
you're
Yes.
a grown ass person at this point. I don't know if, sorry, can I say that on
Yeah. Oh,
podcast?
yeah. I
Okay.
swear,
I'm
please
like,
do so.
yeah. I'm like, you're a girl. And sometimes, listen, sometimes I'm gentle with people, and sometimes I kind of have to verbally give them a little
Oh my
slap, like a
God,
little
thank
nudge,
you for
right?
saying that. Just because I feel like everyone has this misconception when it comes to awakening or spirituality or authenticity. They forget that there is an element of directness that comes with that.
Hmm.
And there is an element of like, that's how you wake people up. Sometimes it
Hmm.
comes in a loud form of energy. And I feel like the people that make the most impact are the ones that are going to give you a little bit of that, like you just said, a little bit of that like nudge or
Yeah.
a little bit of that reality check, you know?
Yes.
And which I love when you even touched earlier, just to circle back with the victim mentality aspect of things, because the people who are operating in the victim mentality don't like that frequency at all.
Mhm.
They can't accept that. And then you become the person that they punish for speaking the truth, or they create the conflict because they don't know how to resolve their own personal conflicts, right? And then you
Yeah.
said, usually, do you find that there's like a specific age range where someone can kind of operate more with that victim mentality? Because I kind of think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I find that after 40 some people have like a midlife crisis if they haven't necessarily done some work, like inner work or inner child work. It's like there's like a awakening, like almost like a crisis of some sort, and they're trying to find a source of their identity, but they may do it in a way where it's still blaming or playing that victim role instead of taking like an empowered approach to their journey. Have you seen a pattern like that arise at all?
Typically, what I see, or maybe at least the clients that come into me, that crisis happens to them 35 to 42,
Okay. Yeah,
whatever that. And
42. I have seen 42. Yes.
yeah. And that's the cycle that ideally, if it's going to happen, that's when it should happen, right? I
Okay.
mean, for some people, it can happen early. I mean, we always have the outliers, the unique cases, okay? But speaking generally, it should be 35 to 42. The earlier in that cycle, the better. Like for me, 35 divorce, 38 complete deconstruction of reality. By the time I hit 40, I was ready to hit the ground running. Do you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yes.
If you are starting at 40 and 42, I don't want to say you're behind, but that means like something didn't click somewhere, and I mean, and it's okay. I mean, you're going to have to do it again. If you don't get it between 35 to 42 and you're experiencing it from 42 to 50,
Mm.
I mean, you really missed it. So,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause at that point, you're actually meant to be deepening into I had a client yesterday use this phrase with me, deeper into deployment. It was so cute. I wrote it down because she's 46 and she's like, I feel
Okay.
like I'm deeper in my deployment. I'm like, that's literally what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So if your crisis is happening, then
Hmm.
I don't want to say you're behind, but let's lovingly say, you know,
You've avoided
You've
you've
certain,
avoided.
avoided,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
you've like, you like
Yeah.
definitely dive into that deeper work to get to the core of what you're meant to be doing.
And so if you do that work between 35 and 42, um, are there any other significant themes that happen at other points after the age of 42? Any other big cycles? Something we should look forward to?
Well, I mean, honestly, like for like I'm 43, just for reference. Okay. Who
Mhm.
I am at 43. I mean, I'm like, who is this person? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like completely different on a cellular level. Like the amount of healing and the forgiveness and the people that, I have felt in my life had hurt me the most, and I now have the most intensely beautiful relationships with. If you
Yeah.
told me this even when I was 38, I'd be like, you're smoking something. Like that is never gonna happen.
Right.
Absolutely not in this realm.
Yeah.
And so when you ask me, what do we have look forward to? Bliss. This is what they call heaven on earth. When you actually wake up and you're like,
Mhm.
oh my God, all these people I'm mad at are like my soul family, and they're just trying to help me get through my crap to like get me on my purpose. You go, I'm so grateful for all of them.
Mhm. It's kind of what I felt within the last year and a half. I do, if I can go back and circle back, I do think the process of where I am now started at 38. There was a lot of bigger questioning. I had set an intention, two intentions actually. The first one was I don't want to work with people who have victim mentality. And the second intention was I don't want to manifest for other people anymore. And I had set that intention when we had gone to St. Lucia.
That was you
When
were
I'd done a retreat and I had done something
yeah.
where I wanted to quantum jump. And I was like, I'm teaching about quantum jumping, and these are the intentions that I want to operate with. And I set it at like 38, and then I just started seeing everything. And I kept saying to myself, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel my work's going to change. Something's changing. All these things are happening. People are falling off. Like people are getting angry with me. They're projecting blame onto me, but I just got to keep moving forward. I just got to keep trusting my process. And even though I kept getting knocked down, I felt like I had to keep moving forward. And in all of that, I wasn't angry because in the past, my anger was leading. I'd be like, yeah, you said that, I'm going to do this. Yeah, you said that, I'm going to have that. Yeah. And this time around, it didn't feel like that. I felt very different. Like it felt like on a cellular level, like you were talking about,
Yeah.
that I was operating with hurt. And it felt like I'm so sad and I could feel the sadness of like when I was letting go or when someone was making a decision to walk away, I'd feel the sadness, but I was like, okay, it's going to be okay. You're still going to be okay. You still have to go move forward. And in that, that's when I started writing my book. And in that, I started to change other things with my work. In that, I started to connect with like celebrities and like other people readings and like all these other beautiful things started to happen, but I have yet to fully accept it yet. That's what I'm still having a controversy with. I still haven't, to me, it's like, it's still not enough, or I'm not doing enough. So I don't know if that's kind of the theme of 40. I don't know if that's something that's kind of, I don't want to say that I'm questioning who I am. I'm still questioning. I think maybe it comes down to the trust, like the trust in the process of it, if that makes sense.
Trust is your spiritual karma. So yes, you do have a
Oh,
challenge with
that
trust.
makes sense.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
ask, what is the contract saying?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, as you're talking, I'm like, no, it's not 40. I'm like, it's actually, so you have a 4-4 in your spiritual karma, and the keyword for that is trust.
Okay.
Okay, so oftentimes this is where now if you've done a lot of work, absolutely, that's incredible. But now you get to those deep layers, right?
Yes, that's how it
And this is
feels.
where we still might have some self-doubt in ourselves. This is where even if we have a connection with the divine, it's still like, okay, God, are you like really going to be there? Are you really going to
Mhm.
support me?
100%.
Mm.
God's there. Also, I don't know if you have a theme of abandonment in your
Yeah,
life.
betrayal, lots of betrayals, tons
Okay,
of
so
betrayals.
that could come into play there. You know what I mean? So again, so deeper layers that are getting triggered that you're like, what am I even working through right now? Because
Yeah.
you've
Yep.
done so much healing.
Yep.
The other thing, your 12-3 soul destiny, the threes, they are here to share their soul's wisdom, as we spoke about. However, the negative aspect of the three is they sometimes have self-worth issues. Am I worthy of being on the spotlight and
Yep.
saying, who's going to listen to me? So as I heard you speak, I don't think it's 40. I think you're getting to the deeper layers of some of these things that you're working through.
100%.
And that's sort of what I heard more that's
Yeah,
coming.
that makes a lot of sense because we've had that conversation
Hmm.
before. Like,
Hmm.
am I going to be heard? I feel like I'm not heard. I feel like I don't know. Is this like there's that doubt that still plays a significant role? Yeah, I completely agree with that. Do you feel that too? You're 40 now. Do you feel anything like that, or you
Yeah, but
feel?
that's like a theme. For me, that's got nothing to do with the age. I think that's a common like underlying theme that I have to work through
That makes
that
sense.
I've been tackling. So I feel like we have so much we're mirroring quite a bit.
Yeah,
Like we have
yeah,
similar aspects that we have to work on. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Um
cute.
maybe that, right?
We
That's
do.
what,
We love each other very much.
when we do my contract, then we're gonna have this like compare.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do a whole episode
Yeah,
on that for
because I
sure.
remember like fun quick story. When I first
Mhm.
met Christina, we had our session.
Oh my God,
I had
yes.
no idea who she was. She like literally, I sat in front of her and she was like, "I'm gonna talk. You're gonna say nothing." And then she goes, "No, no, no, no." And then she was like, "Oh yeah, we were together in our past whatever life, and you were at my deathbed." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Okay."
And we had just met each other, and I actually even forgot I had said that to her, and then she brought that up later on, and she was a client originally, and there wasn't any connection other than me having this conversation with her. And then over time, I was like, there's a kindredness here. There's a soul energy and awareness of each other. Like you are like you feel like family to me on a soul level. It didn't feel so um like I know she's always going to be here kind of thing.
Well,
Like it
don't
felt
I
that way.
represent your mom, dad, and your husband? Virgo,
Yeah, that's
Sun,
true.
Aries rising, Libra moon.
mm-hmm.
And those are like the three main characters in my
Yeah,
life.
that's so funny. Maybe to end on this note, I'm curious, what are you excited to create next? And what is the link between that and maybe your inner child, and what they would be excited about?
My inner child just likes to play. Like that's so, I mean, I'll tell you, this has nothing to do with my work, but I just recently started learning how to play pickleball.
Oh,
Yeah. And like for me, if I don't play, literally like go outside and play, jump on a jump, like I get angry. Like I get, like that's my energy. So I actually like last year was such a Instagram was great to me last year and brought in so much traffic that I couldn't, there was no time to play. And coming into this year, I was like, I need to prioritize play. And so I joined a new gym and I've been learning to play pickleball. I mean, I share this. This is not it's not spiritual, but it is very spiritual.
But
I
it's
think
still a
it's
part of your
most,
life.
hey,
Yeah.
joy
Yeah.
and connection with your inner child and noticing and putting your time and energy in play is the number one fundamental
Yeah.
spiritual
Yeah.
practice that everyone should be doing.
But I guess it's a good reminder that not everything is about work, right? Like you
No.
could be creating
Yeah.
or doing
Yeah.
something else that has nothing to do with bringing you money. So I love that
Yeah.
you play pickleball. I played tennis my whole life. I started playing pickleball. Let me tell you, I got my ass whooped by 75-year-olds on the court.
Yeah.
Wow.
These ladies
Really?
are crafty.
Yeah.
The fact that I played, like, it's
Wow.
because my dad said to me, it is not a game of power. It is a game
Game
of
of
tactics.
strategy and tactics. I do
It
feel
is. It
that.
is. So I
Yeah.
played racquetball most of my life.
Okay, where are you
And
from?
it's
From you said former Soviet Union.
Moldova. I was
Okay.
born in Moldova.
Okay.
Yeah.
So bracket
So
sports are big. Yes.
yeah, but no, I mean, I came to the US when I was really young, but anyways, but racquetball. And so it's translating okay, not so well, but it doesn't matter. I'm out there and I'm playing. That is literally the word. It's not even that I'm going to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym and walk on the treadmill. I'm going there to play right now. So for my inner child, that's really important. And I'll tell you, because I've had to do so much inner child work. And I remember, since you're asking me about this, I'm just going to share it because I don't get to share the story often. But, every time, I don't know, you go to these events and they have you do a meditation, connect to your inner child,
Yes.
whatever the case is. So when I would connect to my inner child and they would say, what does she want? I would always, like, my inner child always wanted cake. Like literally every single time with this meditation, she just wanted cake. And it was almost comical. I'm like, I literally don't get anything else. Like I'm like, I guess she wants her cake and she wants to eat it. I don't know. And it was always in black and white though.
Oh,
And
interesting.
always. My visions of the inner child would always be black and white. Okay. And then one time, again, after doing all this healing work, I went to this other event and it was actually a business event. So I'm not sure why we went into an inner child meditation. I was like, this is kind of weird, but I'm like, okay. But we did. And we go into this meditation and my inner child, all of a sudden, everything is in color. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And the next vision I got was like a toddler me, right? Like in the middle. On the right side was mom and dad. And I took my hands, I put it around them and I kissed one and then I kissed the other. And then I burst into tears. I'm like, oh my God, like what that showed me the healing that how much healing had happened to that moment because again, inner child trauma, mother, father wound, all of that, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, and to have that vision
Hmm.
was beautiful.
It was
So
a marrying of your divine feminine and your divine masculine energies and that unity in consciousness for you to allow that energy to lead so that you're balance that awakening within your in your experiences. Yeah, that's kind of what I love about inner child work so much because it really is about teaching individuals to take both all parts of themselves and love all parts of themselves and then execute that with joy and authenticity. I
yeah.
just wanted to thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. I loved, like, I'm like fangirling. I don't know if you caught that, but I was.
Oh,
But I really do appreciate your time and thank you so much for sharing your gift and your experience with us. And yeah, our audience is going to love this. Thank you so much.
my absolute pleasure. Thank you both.